We are here today on So You Want to Be Successful with Darcy Bruning-Hade. And she is a mind and body somatic therapist and healer, a facilitator of workshops and retreats. She's a tantric teacher and sex therapist, parent, and writer. She accompanies people on a journey to transport and alchemize their trauma, illness, cancer, and relationships. She helps people find their joy, passion, vision, and purpose by focusing in on their gifts to help make the world a better place. Welcome so much, Darcy. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I love that painting in the background, by the way.
Thank you.
It's great. I love the gold.
Love to have good art.
Yes.
Right.
It says a lot about people. It's great. It's great. So tell me, Darcy, describe the vision of success and how does it feel to be successful?
Well, I was thinking I've had a 40-year career and continue to do all kinds of work in the world, but it's changed over time. You know, at the very beginning when I was working at the university as a professor and as a counselor, it was like just paying your bills, you know, getting skills, learning the trade. That was success, you know, and being able to just figure out what you're doing in the world and not be an imposter, you know, and learn to work with others as well. As I became an entrepreneur and left the university and went into my own private practice, and that's what I've been doing for the last 35 years, you know, that is create a whole new other set of skills of learning how to market and how to put a paycheck in for yourself and how to bounce and how to build a clientele and how to work with things. So the success sort of moved into a sort of a skill building set that to do that. At this stage in my career, to me, success is all about, and then I would move into parenting and how to balance, you know, all the needs of the kids at different ages that I had.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one thing being theoretical about parenting. It's another thing living it and being able to then help others learn the parenting skills that they need and want, because I kind of believe our kids are our teachers, right? And they show us the things we do not want to learn as well as much as the ones we do. And then, you know, moving into a different stage now, which is really becoming more a mentor for others, for other somatic therapists, supervising, learning, teaching them, and post-COVID, really learning how to bring communities together, help them release trauma, because everyone went through some sort of trauma, where they were at the time, you know, and then beginning to find a work-life balance in a whole different framework as my body ages, as I move into my 60s, you know.
Yeah, I can fully relate to that. Menopause is an awesome thing to go through. It's been wonderful. So
well, when you balance menopause well, you actually have a lot of freedom. But it's finding that puzzle piece, you know.
Exactly. The skills that you were talking about earlier, I'm so glad you mentioned those things, because the marketing, the paycheck part, all of those things people kind of take for granted when they're not the actual owner of the business or doing the entrepreneurial part of it.
Right.
So that's great. So going through all of this, how are some of those things, like the feelings behind there? Like, because I'm sure that sometimes it was not always easy, especially that family life balance and career. It's like, was there any overwhelm or?
Every stage that you go through and every new experience that, like, you know, that I would go through, I would of course feel fear and worry and can you do it? And, you know, will people come and how does that make it happen? What I learned is when you kind of walk your walk and talk your talk, you know, and stay really authentic and be able to find what it is you're most interested in. Like, to me, every obstacle became a challenge and a pathway. To learn more, to growing more, and that part. So sometimes it meant I had to develop a skill set that I had no information about, or develop a community of people to help me, you know, develop online things and all the rest of it. So it continues to grow. Sometimes
Yeah.
the challenge is really frustrating and overwhelming. Other times it's like little baby steps of like, okay, I got this one, or this is really good, or this really works, or I learned things that didn't work, and it's like those were equally as valuable.
Mm-hmm. And it's great because having, all of those different skill sets too. One thing I always like to go back to the whole onion analogy, how, you have your core, and then by your outer peel, and every time you learn, you still have that same skill set, but you're enhancing it with
Yeah.
each stage you go through.
Exactly.
So
And
so it's great.
as you get you go through the stages, more depth comes, more integration. You decide what's really important, what's not
Yeah.
anymore. And
Yes.
my I've always followed the thing of what am I interested in and
Yeah.
what's going to feed me. And as
Hmm.
I did that, it would come out in the world, as well as what is being asked of me, like through my clients, through the workshops. What is the request? What is the times that are making? And then you have to develop those skill sets to meet the needs of the community as well, and the
Right.
people.
It's so easy to lose your way, though. Don't you
Yeah.
find sometimes? Because even though you always have the like the best intentions for clients, for your family, but then your own inner being, staying that authentic self, sometimes it's like, because you want to do so well for everybody else, you lose your path. And so do you ever find that happened for you?
I didn't, mainly
Okay,
because
good,
there's a
good.
couple pieces to it. One is I really am value based of like what's important at each stage of my life. And I go through a whole values exercise and really look at it each time. I create a
Mm,
vision board. I make sure that I really flesh out what is key and important. So when other things come to
mhm,
me that may look fantastic, I go, okay, is that really going to feed me and nourish me and get me where I want to go? And is
mm,
that going to best and serve all of the needs that I have on the table? And if the
mhm,
answer is no, then I let it go gracefully. And so it holds me in a discipline mode of being able to tell me what's important and to walk my walk in integrity. So that has never been a huge struggle for me, to be very honest. Although,
mhm,
resilience, letting go of what I think things should be looking like versus what they really are, or doors that
mhm.
didn't open versus, I wish they could have. And then just it's a dance between surrender,
Yeah.
clarity, vision, integrity, and values. And then allowing life to kind of show you which way you're going to go.
Right. And that's interesting you say it like that, like with the values and allowing life to show you which way that it's going to go. So believing in that self, right?
And
And
trusting
and
the process.
taking the
Sometimes, you
actions.
go, that door didn't open, and what a
Yeah.
disappointment. And, you have to release the disappointments for sure. But then another door opens that was even better for what could happen, And so
Yeah.
there is a trusting,
Yeah.
and it's sort of that, like Kenny Rogers song, like knowing when to hold them, when to
Oh,
fold them, when
yeah.
to push, when to surrender, when to
Yeah.
let go. And
Yeah.
that's really life. That's life
Mhm.
skills. That's tantra. It's
It
about
is.
really learning when to hold on and focus on discipline, and don't give up, and then when to say, okay, you know what, this isn't working, or this isn't the needs, or maybe this isn't my best interest, and letting go.
Hmm. And one thing going along with that I know for myself that I learned was patience.
Yeah.
And that was really, really hard for me. And so the
Patience
patience,
and grace, and a sense of being able to trust the process,
yes.
and that
Yeah.
is not always that easy,
No, it's
especially
not.
when you're in the middle
No,
of it.
it's not. Exactly. And everything seems like it's up in the air, and yeah, gracefully just kind of trusting and remaining in the moment, being mindful of, okay, no, you know what? Things are going to work out how they're meant to work out.
Yeah.
And I trust that, just like you said, even though that door wasn't exactly how I wanted it to be, it didn't turn out how I wanted it to be, the next door was awesome. So if I stay patient, even though things feel all kerfuffled inside, um, on the outside, it all
I
falls
always
into
sort of
place.
say, figure out exactly what you desire and want and need, and
Right.
then let go of the form. And when you let
Let
go of
let go of the what?
the
Okay.
form,
Yes.
the form it needs to come in, because it doesn't always come in the form you think it's coming. And when we try to hold on to that form and think it's coming to that front door, it doesn't always do that. So that's the dance, right? Is being able
It
to be
is.
clear and not just take anything or say yes to anything, and letting go of the form it requires. And that is the crazy dance of life, really.
It is. It is, and it's unbelievable how many of us. Some people will learn it; they don't realize that that's what they're learning. So being able to become aware of that dance, so that the next time that something comes into your realm, you're more aware of what it is, so you can go through it much easier.
Yeah, with that.
Or in a different,
Yeah.
exactly, with that grace. Exactly. So can you think of some pivotal moments that really helped you go through
Do
those
that.
moments
Oh my God, I
go
can
through?
think of many pivotal moments, because I think that's kind of, I always sort of say the obstacle is the path. And when I resist the obstacle, and like, why is this happening to me? Or, oh, I wish I couldn't do, this is not the way I want it. Then I fight it, I resist it.
Yeah.
When I surrender to it and learn, okay, what is this obstacle here to teach me, and learn, I go through it and something brand new happens, something amazing happens afterwards. And it's the alchemization of being able to surrender and let go. So I think of all the different ways. Well, parenting is definitely, the art of, parenting is amazing. My kids are my best teachers. I have young adult men these days, but going through it and challenging and transforming, and each stage of development of like letting them be autonomous, and and guiding them, and how to support them to follow their dreams, not the ones I thought they had. That is a resiliency.
Yes.
Sure. Moving from a pension and a salary and a check into becoming an entrepreneur, and trusting that what you have to put in place to make that happen. Those have been obstacles that have grown me a lot. Sitting in a practice where I became sort of a generalist to much more of a sort of a niche market of working mind, body, spirit, and somatically really trusting that the body holds our story, and we have to work through the nervous system and the body to be able to let go. Hang on, here's my adult son walking in the door. And we're going to just edit it. There he goes.
Yeah.
He's not. Gino, I'm in the middle of an interview. Can we be really quiet? I'm sorry, I had to come upstairs. It's okay. Yeah, thank you. And it's going to be about an hour. It's going to be about an hour. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Gino.
Beautiful.
I'll bring my stuff out right now, so I don't.
Yeah, but I'm on the clock right now, so can we just do that? Sorry, I had to move spaces. Thank you. Perfect.
You're good.
That was what my fear was, of being in the general space. Yeah. And this is the day that, of course, he has no work. That he's off on vacation going away. So he's in the middle of getting ready as well.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll just give it a few seconds so they can edit there. So thank you for describing some of those roadblocks, because sometimes with those roadblocks, it's so easy for some of us just to shut down or get stuck in there. Yeah. So what are some things that you would recommend to help not only get out of that stuckness feeling? Some people might call it depression, but becoming aware that you're stuck. Because sometimes people are like, oh, well, I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to watch a movie, and you do it one day. And then you realize you're doing it every day for a month, and you don't realize until you're kind of deeper into it that, okay, this is becoming a bit of an issue. So do you have any?
The first step is just recognizing the pattern and the behavior, and is it serving you or not serving you? And everyone has their day where you're exhausted and tired and just need to zone out, but when it becomes a pattern or it's holding you back, that's one thing. The second piece is, okay, what is holding me back? What's the fear? What's underneath the procrastination that we want to move it? That's the next step. Yeah. The third one is, what do I need to do? Put an action plan in place. And fourthly, really, I always call it, sound, movement, and breath. Can I breathe through the obstacles and let go into my body? Can I make some sound and movement to kind of access what I need to do? And what are the feelings that are sitting there that I might not want to deal with?
Yeah.
And then how do I transform this and alchemize this into a different way where I can get some support or help or figure it out so that I can put an action plan in place? So it's holding yourself accountable or getting someone else to hold you accountable so you don't get too stuck in the ruts.
Exactly. And that's one thing that I find is one of the biggest things with people is part of holding yourself accountable and looking in that mirror.
Yeah, and it's okay to have
it-
others and teams to hold you
yeah.
accountable too. Like,
Oh, exactly.
if you're
Yeah.
not a good exercise
Mhm.
person, well then get yourself to a gym and make sure you have a buddy. Like
And
if you're not
exactly.
if you
Yeah.
are wanting to do a new project or move into a different form of your career or relationship or whatever, you do need accountability because our fear
Yeah.
is going to bubble up.
Oh, definitely. And that's why coaching has become such a big field now, like coaching and mentoring and guidance, right? That's why
Yeah.
it's become so popular, because people are realizing that it's not a bad thing to ask for help, because underneath everything, we're all human. And it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or whoever you are, an admin person, whoever you are, everybody has the same things, right? We all go through the same or similar things.
Right.
Even though they're all unique, the journey is unique, but similar concepts is what
So
I'm saying.
the question is I'm just in a rut and I have to create a new routine. That's
Yeah.
one piece of it. And putting
Yeah.
a routine that's going to work and get you motivated and
Exactly.
connected. Is this an old trauma or an old belief system that I can't do this if fear is
Right.
coming up? Then there's a whole other strategy that has to happen and be put in
Mhm.
place. So you have to kind of figure out, what is it? Is it that I'm just giving myself some slack and I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed and exhausted and burnt out? Okay, let's honor that. If it's
Yeah,
something that is like, okay, you know what? I'm fearful of being successful, or I don't feel worthy of this, or I don't feel good enough in some way, then there's a whole other process that has to happen.
exactly. 100%. So I love how you've just, explained all of that to us. It's awesome. Where are you now? So
In
you
life,
started, yeah, like you've started with like the university, and now you're an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, so where are you now? Like personally, professionally?
well, there's lots of things that have happened. I have a private practice, and I've had that for many years,
Yeah.
where I see both individuals and couples, and I run all kinds of groups and retreats. And then I get invited out to other communities that want to help heal and nurture. So I'll go and be the person that helps them do that. Um, And so my practice is really full, and I get to do the type of work I do, which is really a mind body connection of really understanding and working with the body, the trauma, and how to visionarily move forward, both in group, individual, and couples. And that be in a relationship, may that be something I want more meaning and purpose in my life, or I'm dealing with an illness or cancer and want to look at what is somatically in my body and how do I heal that. Um, and or you know what, I just want to plan for retirement, or I want to deepen and find a relationship that's going to nurture me. um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's on a professional level, that's what I'm doing, and I get a chance to kind of go all over the world. And on a personal level, I have a beautiful relationship that just nourishes me, and we kind of co-create together. We're doing a lot of traveling in our
Nice.
lives, and I have two adult boys that kind of come and go. And one of the biggest obstacles that I have faced is I had a very life-threatening cancer,
Oh.
breast cancer, that I had to fight really hard to stay alive. And like I said, an obstacle really is the path, because I'd always worked with people with illness and cancer in my practice, given I have a somatic practice of mind body. But really, the big changing, transferring point was when I had to fight for my own life and discover, this is not the dress rehearsal anymore. And,
Mm-hmm.
what is going to heal me? What's going to help do that? And then really, you take one wrong move and you're playing with fire as to if you're going to be
Yeah.
alive or not. So I really dig deep into integrative medicine and breath work, and learning about how to use the best of all worlds, both traditional medicine and also integrative medicine, and different ways to heal. And when you go through something like that, then what happens is in anything in my practice, it comes back to me. And so now I have
Exactly.
the lovely pleasure and gift of helping others who are going through the path of cancer and illness to figure out what is that body saying, how do we help heal you and get you back onto a new path that will really nourish you in a way that you can't go back, but you definitely can learn from it and see it as a teacher. So
Right.
those are the, obstacles are always the transformation forward.
It's one of the things, like forgiveness, how you were talking about, like whatever you put out is what you give back. And some people, like especially things like forgiveness, even those people, if you've been in an abusive situation or trauma at workplace or whatever it might be, and it's really a difficult thing to understand that being able to forgive, it doesn't mean you forget, but being able to forgive and process through
So
with,
it's interesting. There's so much to say about
oh,
forgiveness.
I
The
know.
most important piece here is that you
Yeah.
forgive yourself. You
Thank you.
forgive
Yes.
yourself from what's experiencing.
Yeah.
If you can let go of the bitterness and the revenge or the whatever, the unfinished feelings that are in there because your boundaries were crossed from which way
Yeah.
that didn't feel right, that is the healing process.
Right.
Sometimes that means
Right.
you forgive someone who's already passed away. Sometimes you choose and you create new boundaries for you, for that
Yeah.
other thing. Maybe the boundary is I don't want to talk to you. Maybe the boundary is I do want to talk to you, but here's the conditions in which it's going to work for me. And you set where that becomes. So it empowers you to be able to feel like you soften your heart, you don't wall it off, you don't disconnect, because that's flow, right? And when you shut down
Exactly.
flow, what happens inside happens outside in the world. What you create, what comes to you, how it makes it happen. So we're always looking at kind of, okay, what's your life? What's the laboratory telling you? And then what's internally that we have to help you shift and make happen.
It's actually a beautiful process. And I know as a child, for myself personally, there was not a lot of there was like no affection. So material goods were the way that my parents showed me any kind of affection. I never got hugs, kisses, nothing.
Right.
Not even like oh, good job, honey, anything like that. No kind of,
reinforcement to say
no,
I see you,
exact.
I celebrate you, I love you. Yeah.
Exactly. So anytime I saw like even a picture of like a heart or anything like that, I was like, oh, that's corny. I'm like, you know what? That's whatever. It's like even for Valentine's Day, I hated Valentine's Day. I was like, this is like, a silly or a silly holiday. What's the purpose? Blah, blah, blah. As I grew, and even especially the past like 10 years, when I guess 7 years for my relationship, I learned through forgiveness and sending those people, love. Even my ex-husband, who was very abusive, I was able to receive so much more in return.
Yeah, because I think what people do is because they've been so hurt. And when you're not
Exactly.
seen and celebrated and acknowledged in the ways that fill you up and feel you good, what happens
Mm-hmm.
is you want to just block it off. But when you block it off, you're protecting yourself, but you're also not allowing the incoming to happen. And so what you're
Exactly.
talking about is as you let go and you can forgive what happened, not what happened and how it happened, but you're saying, I no longer have to protect the heart in the same way. Something
Right.
new can enter, something new can
Yes.
happen. And that is the magic of transformation and alchemization, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being
It
able to
is.
allow something new to happen and feel less stuck in the world. And,
Mm-hmm.
lots is happening in our world right now. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of angst and worry. Where we just went through COVID, which is really intense experience for a lot of people. And so people are looking for all kinds of things. They're looking for grounding. They're looking for connection. They're looking for hope and resilience and a new possibility. And so this is an exciting time, and it's also a very overwhelming time for many.
It is. So can you describe to me some of the successes that you have now that you didn't have before, and how that kind of like let us envision kind of what that looked like for
Mhm,
you?
mhm. Well, success for me at the beginning when I was, working at the university and teaching and doing counseling was, how can I hone my skills?
Right.
That was success, and a lot of the focus went on that. And when you start a career, you do need to start to learn how to make that happen, and you gather information. And then I was like, okay, you know what? Talk therapy is fantastic, but it is great to analyze what the problem is and organizing, but it doesn't transform the energy behind it, which means sometimes things don't change. And so I really went on my own quest to figure that out, and then ultimately went really traveling around the world and trained all over the world to say, okay, well, then what does heal? How do we make things heal and transform? Which meant I could no longer stay at the talk therapy place of working. I had to move into a different realm, which is really from you know, uh, healing modalities. And so I went around the world and trained in all kinds of healing modalities, from breath work to transformational dancing to sex therapy to tantric work to healing, how to alchemize the mind body somatic perspective. And then you integrate it in a whole new way, and that becomes success, right? Because you have to learn all these tools and then make it your own. Then the third part is, okay, and then I got this cancer, and I was like, okay, now what are you teaching me here? How do I heal and transform? Because something in my body is in dis-ease, right? Not working in balance. And I had to look at all kinds of ways that I overrid my system, that I didn't listen to it, that I pushed beyond its limits, right? And find a new balance that my body can sit with and my nervous system can sit with, that would work for all the things that were in my life. And from that, I also had to evaluate a relationship that no longer served me, that no longer worked. And, I have the grace of being able to have a partner that we both felt the same way and gently let each other go, and had a very empowering release way of, separating and divorcing. But not everyone gets that privilege or that joy to make it happen. And then being able to say, okay, now how do I help build community? What does our world need right this moment? Because we're all in a lot of angst and a lot of depressions up in the rise, and anxiety, and more pot smoking, more alcoholism, more panic attacks than ever before, more people on medications to sort of numb out the feelings and help them function in our world where our systems are breaking down, right? Our judicial, our educational, our emotional systems are all not working. It's too high a capacity. And so now, how do we build back a community that's going to work? And that's where my next sort of level of energy is going into, is really helping people learn how to build communities that nurture them, through movement, through dance, through breath work, bringing people together so they don't feel so isolated and connected, helping people release their trauma so they don't feel so alone in the world, and resourcefully giving them their gifts to be able to figure out, what do you need to do and what does our world need, and how do we kind of make that marriage happen?
Right. What would you like, as some very, very basic examples? If somebody came to your clinic and said, okay, I'm feeling all this angst and I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. I'm overwhelmed. I know that I'm doing too much. I'm aware of this. What can I do to help me get through it? Because I know that avoiding it has not helped. It's made it worse. What can I do?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. First of all, you do an inventory of what's working and what's not. Sometimes it's an incremental process. Quitting your job may not be the answer necessarily, even though it's giving you a lot of angst. But okay, how do we center you? How do we rebalance you in a way that your nervous system can calm down? So we take a look at that, first of all. We look at what community you have involved and who's your resources, so that you're not feeling like you're having to figure it out all on your own. We help you learn to breathe and feel the feelings underneath all of that anxiety, because that's what anxiety is. It holds all the feelings, the unmet feelings and needs, which is, grief and loss and disappointment and anger and hurt and pain. And when we can learn how to deal with those in healthy ways and lighten the load, guess what? You lighten. And then ultimately you can see a pathway. It's like an elevator that goes up. And so then you can start to see a pathway as to where we can get to, and people feel less hopeless and more hopeful. So it's a multi approach. There's not a one piece to it, but it's really looking at it in a mind body perspective and how to do that.
One thing that I always love to kind of give people the analogy too is like something like fear and having to deal with those feelings. Lots of people, when they think of the word feelings, they get intimidated right away because they're like, oh, well, I don't need to feel that. And they just compartmentalize and they keep pushing everything down. And that's part of the problem. And so if you just look at one at a time, and I get them to imagine different boxes as well, that, you know what, if those are different, and then let's just deal with one at a time. Or give that feeling like for fear, as an example, like a face or a name or whatever you want to do. Have that little animated cartoon character in your mind.
Right. Make it a little less scary.
Exactly. And you
overwhelming.
And you walk with it rather than having it lead you. And so by that way, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to have feelings of being sad or whatever they are. All of these feelings that society has taught us that, oh, well, no, that's not good. You know what? It is okay. And to acknowledge
it's learning
that.
how to be comfortable with
Exactly.
And
yes.
For many of us, that's really scary and overwhelming.
It is.
And it is, we spend a lot of time trying to get out of our bodies rather than in our bodies and live it.
Thank you.
When you move through the fear and learn how to do it in increments that the nervous system can allow, and really, we talk a lot about the vagus nerve and how to calm it down and our nervous system to calm it down so that we can think and keep our head above water. And then you can find that creative within, access to be able to do that. When you're in a nervous system overwhelm and fear is basically fight, flight, and freezing you.
Yeah.
You don't have access to anything, even though it's there sometimes, you just don't. And so it's softening, it's finding ways to melt that fear and compartmentalize, like you said, and creative ways of making it less scary so that people can help move. And everyone has fear, like
exactly.
It's the unknown and it's anxious and it's overwhelming sometimes, especially when you're trying something new.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really like to stress to people, that again, it's everybody's unique and special in their own way, and everybody's going through something. So try not to.
Everyone's got a something.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. What's that old saying? You don't know what somebody's going through unless you walk in their shoes. And the thing is, you don't. And so rather than making it about you all the time, just let it go. And I know that's easy to say.
Easier said than done. Absolutely. Especially when there's a lot coming at you all at once. And
exactly.
both in our world and in our internal worlds. And in, I think we're in overload as a system right this moment. And there's a lot of change and transformation happening, but it can be really overwhelming. So, developing a really good self-care plan and immersing yourself in nature, having frequencies that your body can kind of relax into, not always in do mode, allow the being mode to happen a lot more. Those are all really good things, but it's a combo.
It is. So what are some of the things that you do to just relax and just to kind of take care of yourself?
Well, I have a pretty extensive routine, to be very honest, just because I hear so much. I work with suicide, I work with depression, I work with anxiety, I work with, couples that are fighting. I work with people trying to sort out their lives with really heavy, hard things. Parents, aging parents, kids acting out, like all the rest of it. So it's not easy stuff. So I love it, and I feel blessed and transformed to be able to help people with it. But so I have a very strong routine. I move my body every day, both getting my steps in and some sort of cardiovascular, but also the yoga and slowing down and stretching, some block therapy, that kind of thing. What do? I immerse myself in nature. I love being in nature. It calms my nervous system down and it fills me up and gives me a perspective that is really helpful.
Nice.
I take time off. I unplug. I unplug from my screen and from my phone and from people sometimes so that I can just fill back up again in creative ways. I have a real creative practice I do. I love to dance. I love to move. I like to breathe.
Nice.
So lots of things, and I love to travel and have adventures too, and that just brings me joy. So, one of the things that I have learned about, life-threatening cancer is that, carpe diem. This is now, it's not the dress rehearsal. And I just keep finding, I live every day as if it's my last. And so that I can really, bring joy into it and connect into it and want to incorporate that, not out of fear, but out of a sense of, sense of like, how do we embrace the goodness and the blessings of the day?
Exactly. Exactly. So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what are you working on right now?
I have a bunch of things going on. I'm writing a book.
Nice.
And it's about the transformational journey and putting it into writing all the teachings, all the ways, the guidance I've been giving, and also workshops and things like that. So people can kind of take the chunks and start to work it with themselves and with other people. I'm creating a bit of a podcast show of being able to put that into more of a video way and interactive. I developed a thing called Kaza Connection because I'm really believing that people need to come together in like-minded ways with like-minded humans
Yeah.
to begin to heal and connect. So we have sing songs, and we have
Oh, nice.
singing circles, and we have dance temples, and we have breath and release workshops, and we have teachings around tantra and sexuality and healthy relationships. So people can go in visionary workshops where people can explore what their vision is and have different days for different things. So people can arrive, come in, deep dive into the topic and help to explore. Those are the main things that I'm doing, and then having a lot of fun adventuring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fun is always good. So I'm going to kind of throw something at you because I think there's a real misconception about tantric work.
Mhm.
I know with myself, I was raised Roman Catholic,
Mhm.
very strict Roman Catholic, and I did not know my father. And I got to the point where cutting through all the lies, all the so much, in a nutshell, let's just say so much. I only discovered who I really was 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I hired a tantric shaman,
Mhm.
and me being, especially like with you as a sex therapist, this is why I'm kind of throwing this at you. I right away thought, okay, all of these misconceptions about tantric. I was like, okay, do I come naked or do I do I come like with clothes on? What's going to happen? And I just went in very, very open-minded, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And I went in there with that mindset because I wanted to cut through all those blocks once and for all.
Mhm.
And even though I knew, like I know now, you're not going to do that all in one day, but whatever that biggest wall, just to get me started even more, I had to go in there with an open mindset and be ready
Mhm.
for that challenge. Please explain to us maybe how or what you would say to somebody who doesn't understand tantric and what it involves and the sexuality behind it.
Well, when people think of tantra, they think of sexuality. And I
Yeah.
want to stop because it's not that. Tantra is a life force.
Yeah.
It's finding your life force inside of you. And when we are blocked in our body because
Yeah.
we've had to just endure for so long, and sometimes enduring is what we got to do to get through to the other side. But when we shut down, we block off our vital energies. And so Tantra is about a series of working with energy systems. And then you can bring that energy and life force and connection and flow of life force internally to whatever you bring. So you bring Tantra into visioning, you bring Tantra into parenting, you bring Tantra into creativity, you bring Tantra into your sexuality and your pleasure. You bring Tantra into relationship to self and to other. It's a process. It's not just sexuality. It's about sacred connection to the divine, both spiritually, whatever that may be for you, and being able to connect into ourselves so that our body, our vessel is a temple of healing. And that we learned healthy boundaries of saying yes and no. Most of us say yes when we really don't mean yes. And we say no when sometimes we're scared, but we really want to explore. And so it's learning how to honor the boundaries of our energy, our flow, our connection internally, and how we create that in our life. So some people want to focus on sexuality because there's a lot of pleasure and joy, and that creates more pleasure and joy. But it really starts with your own life force and how to increase it and expand it and move it. And what happens within happens without. And so
Yes.
whatever's going on in your life shows you what's happening internally as well. And it's not a
Yes.
blaming thing at all. It's
No.
just something that's outside is stuck, is not happening. Let's now look at how to increase that and where it is in you. If you keep attracting, a partner that is unavailable emotionally, there is something going on internally that you want to look at, because energetically, that's the magnet that's being created. When you can shift that magnet, then you open up to a different possibility. Relationships heal, and they can also really destroy and hurt. And we it's like, you can't live with them, you can't live without them, but that energy polarity piece of, you know, is this a relationship that's healing my life and giving me life force and making me a human that's really good and better inside of myself? Or is it repeating an old pattern where I'm not getting my needs met and I can't feel satisfaction? And that's, we're doing a relationship with work, with life, with pleasure, with sexuality, with a partner, with our children. Like, that is what we're looking at as a life force. And that's Tantra.
I have no words. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darcy. That was beautiful. I know, since I have surrendered in so many ways and released everything I have, like especially the last 10 years that I've been doing my main focus on myself, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
And Tantra has really, oh my gosh, I love it. Like getting back to nature and getting back to who I am has been so pivotal.
Great.
So it's been amazing having you here. How can people get a hold of you? If they want to talk to you, they want to work
I have
with
a
you?
website. They can definitely contact my website and take a look at what I do. If they want to invite me into their community to do some healing work or some workshops, I'm happy to do that. I love to travel and explore and meet new people. Eventually I will get my podcast up and running, and happy to have people connect in that way. So I think on the screen you'll have my website and also an email to access me. One thought I had when you were asking me about success, and I want to just share this, which is what I've come to learn around, first it was about becoming somebody and how, the skill set and developing and all the rest. And then, like, really cancer and children and life force and humbling of relationships, breaking down and having to you become a nobody. And you really let go of the ego and the way you thought it was going to be and the way you should be and all those expectations. And then you become an everybody. And you find the roots of the tree that interconnect every human together. And that's where we're at in this world. And that's where I want to support us to do. And at first it was like, how can I make this, how can I help people? That was my first sort of form of success. And then it was like, how do I now transform that and allow people to feel the gifts that they have so that they can then find their light to shine. And then how do we help this world become more loving, less anxious, more connected, more hopeful place to be, both in every realm of our being. And that's where my energy is wanting to sink in and connect in via community, with people, with relationships, and giving people the tools so that they can go into their communities, that I can help support that to make our world a more loving place to be. We've got a lot of issues, climate control, and how do we honor Mother Earth and Pachamama? How do we connect in with our fellow beings and have differences and be able to live in the same communities, and without having, shut down and violence and anger and rage and all those things? And how do we become a community that has less illness and more wellness? And so that's where my energy is going now. That's what my writing is, my podcasts, and also my ability. That's where the vision that I want to create to help us be co-creating together.
That's so beautiful. I love having you here today. That is so beautiful. Like, so many people, they go through life and they get up, they go to work, they go back home, they feed the kids, it's just a robot. But when you stop that robot mode and you internalize like what you can do to contribute, and you can, Everybody has something. And that's one thing that I always encourage as well, is that it doesn't matter how small your contribution is. It's all part of that ripple effect. Everybody has something to contribute. Even if you think you're not, words are very powerful.
Yeah.
And you might be talking to somebody in the grocery store lineup and saying, "Oh, what? I love your hat." That might totally change somebody who does not have very high self-esteem or whatever, and you just made their day.
Absolutely. Kindness
It's
goes a long way, and
it does.
blessings and grace.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And if we
Mhm.
can start to do that a lot more in our
Yeah,
everyday life, that will have a ripple effect. You're absolutely right.
it
And
does.
when you were talking, I was sort of reminded of, like, a lot of people just spend a lot of time in their everyday life where you get from point A to point B. We have to go our grocery shopping. We have to, do our things and get up. And they think that's what life's about. And
Yeah.
yes, it's an important piece that helps us move forward, but there's so much life force underneath
Oh,
that.
yeah.
How
Oh,
to get
yeah.
to different realms of consciousness, how to help heal yourself, and how to
Yeah.
have joy and life force and connection in ways that build intimacy. And that is the exciting part. That's the juicy part of
Mhm.
being here on this earth plane right this moment.
It
And how to,
is.
yeah.
It is. So do you have a name for your podcast yet?
Not yet, not yet. It's kind
Okay.
of a work in progress. I'm in the middle of
Okay.
writing this book that has or it's writing me. I think that's more a way of saying it. And then I will put podcasts into different topics and chapters,
Okay.
and then start talking about those on the podcast. So it's a bit
Awesome.
of
I look forward
that's
to it.
this year's project. Yeah.
I look forward to that. And is your book an autobiography, or is it a
No, it's
book?
really more around a compilation of so many different stories and
Okay.
privileges I've got to work. It's an honor to work with people's stories and what
Yeah.
happens to them and the resilience. And to me now, what success is really about is, if you asked me back then, I would have said it's about skill building and, networking and marketing and connecting. And really what success is about now is learning the skills of adaptability,
Yes.
resilience, letting go of what you think has to be in the form, and releasing and opening, visioning, supporting, disciplining, but also really allowing for life to co-create with you. And that to me is what success is about, finding balance so you're not an override all the time.
Yeah.
That was a hard one for me, for sure.
Mhm.
And being able to just take in the joys of life, that's the key piece, and making others feel good about themselves and important, supported.
Mhm. Beautiful. So anybody who would like to start working with Darcy, she can be found at www.souls, SOULS journey.com, and her email and information will be on the show. So please contact Darcy. I'm sure there's such a wide variety of topics she could discuss and help you through if you need that, or workshops. I look forward to your podcast and your book, and good luck with
Thank
both
you.
of those, Darcy. Thank you
And
so
what
much.
I'm most excited about is being
Yes.
invited into communities to help them develop their communities of healing.
Okay. Oh,
And 'cause
perfect.
that's really where my focus wants to be.
Okay.
I have a very full private practice at this point, but I really want to help communities help themselves to develop
Okay.
interconnection and heal. That is what my joy is right this moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I think that is very, very important, because lots of times, going back to kind of what we were just saying about going day to day to day to day,
Yeah,
sometimes having that outside bird's eye view helps to see and navigate waters differently, so we get better outcomes, right?
absolutely. Thank you for the privilege of coming on and sharing my story, and
No
really want to
problem.
welcome others to not, if you're feeling stuck, there's ways through. That's what I want the message to be. And there's all kinds of ways, new lenses to put it in. Remember the inside outside piece. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Darcy. You have a wonderful rest to your day.
you do.